Hello everyone, my name is Dan, I like to program. Let's get into this week's problem. So, given an array of time intervals, start to end, for classroom lectures, possibly overlapping, find the minimum number of rooms required to satisfy all given time periods. So, a thing to note is we will be working with times that are in minutes, and there are 1,440 minutes in every day. So, for the first example that we'll walk through, you are given 30 to 75, 0 to 50, and 60 to 150. These are all really early in the morning and unlikely, but we're going to ignore that. So the first class that would start would be the 0 to 50 class. The second one to start would be the 30 to 75. And the third one to start would be the 60 to 150. So the 0 to 50 starts, you have one classroom running. Shortly into that class, you have 30 to 75, which starts running. And it starts in the middle, so you'll need two classrooms. And then shortly after 30 to 75 starts, the 0 to 50 will end, and then you'll only have one classroom running. But shortly after that, you'll have the 60 to 150, which starts, and you'll have two classrooms running again. And shortly after that, the 30 to 75 ends, you'll have one classroom, and then the 60 to 150 ends, and you'll have 0 classrooms again. So the maximum number of rooms you needed for that entire time was 2. Let's get into the code. So as you can see, I've already gotten started on some of the code. I put in 4 examples that we could test, and they all have the correct minimum number of classrooms needed for all the time intervals. So we'll check to see if they're correct at the end. And then I also have the main method down here, which we'll use to test. And I think we'll start out ourselves by creating a new method called min_num_rooms. And this will be the method that calculates the minimum number of rooms we need for a given array of time intervals. And we're going to pass through, we're going to pass through an int array, double array, of time intervals. So I'm just going to name it time array. I'm going to put a placeholder right here. And then the first variable we need will be a variable called rooms needed. We're going to set this equal to 0 because if there are no intervals given to us, we're just given like an empty array, you know? We don't need any rooms because there are no classrooms going. I mean, there are no classes going, you know? No lectures, no classes, same thing. And then the second thing we'll need is a variable called net rooms needed. We'll set this equal to 0 as well. And this variable is going to keep track of the current rooms needed at any given point of the day. And then the next thing we need will be an array of integers called time counter. And we're going to set this equal to a new int array, and we're going to have it have 1,440 new places inside the array, new indexes. And the reason for this is there are 1,440 minutes in a day, and so we'll be accounting for every minute. So what we're essentially doing is we're calculating the net gain in rooms for each minute of the day, and we're going to store that in this array. So for example, at time 70, the 70th minute, which would be the 70th place in the array, we would say, hey, how many classes are starting? How many are ending? You take the classes that start, subtract the amount that ended, then you get your final value. So let's say 3 classes start at 70 minutes, and then 1 ended at 70 minutes. So you'll have 3 minus 1 equals 2. That's the net amount of rooms that were gained. Same thing if it was more rooms that ended, or more lectures that ended than started. So if you started, let's say, 1 room at 70 minutes, and you ended 2 rooms, 2 lectures, then you would have -1 sitting in that spot in the array. And we're going to use this to calculate the net rooms needed at any given time throughout the day. And that's what's going to be stored in our variable called net rooms needed. And to do this, we are going to go into an example, and I'm going to get onto my iPad so I can show you. So we have this example here, and we're going to assume that there are only 5 minutes in a single day. Kind of short, I know. Got a lot to do, but too bad. Anyways, and then we're going to assume that classrooms are requested during the given times below, from 0 to 1, 0 to 2, 0 to 2 again, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, and 3 to 4. So we're going to work through this with the table I made here down below. So we're going to keep track of the rooms gained, the rooms released, and the net gain in rooms. And then after that, we'll see what the rooms currently needed are, which in our code would be stored in net rooms needed. So let me get my pencil out. So for rooms gained, I'm going to use some green. So at time 0, we can see that there are 3 rooms that are needed because 3 lectures are starting. The 01, the 02, and the 02 again. So we're going to say plus 3. And then this is the first minute of the day, so nothing's going to get released. And so this rooms release is going to stay at 0. And then we go to the next one, which is 1. And we say, hey, there are 2 times, or 2 lectures that start at 1. And so we're going to come down here. We're going to say plus 2. And then we'll look on to see that there is 1 lecture that ends at 1. So we will go right here and we'll say minus 1. And I want you to note that the start times are on the left and the end times are on the right, if I haven't mentioned that before. And so we'll move on and we'll say for the second minute of the day, or the 2 minute of the day, there's nothing that starts, but you can see on the right that 3 end. So we would say plus 0 minus 3. Then we'll go back up. We'll do the same for 3. We see that 1 starts and 1 ends. So we'll do plus 1. Then we'll do minus 1. And then for 4, we don't have anything that starts, but we have 1 that ends. So you'll do plus 0 and minus 1. So if we go over here, we'll see that 3 minus 0 is equal to 3. And this is the net rooms gained. And then if we go to for the net rooms gained for the 0 minute. And then if we go on to the first minute, we'll see that we have plus 2 minus 1, which gives us 1 room gained. The net gain is 1 room for this minute, because 2 classes started, 1 class end. And then if we go to the second minute, we see that 0 rooms are started and 3 are taken away, or 3 have ended. So the net gain here would be negative 3. And then we'll do the same for 3 and 4. Plus 1 minus 1 equals 0. Plus 0 minus 1 equals negative 1. And so we see that the net rooms gained can be used as the, let's see, white. So we can see that the rooms currently needed will start at 3. And then if we go here, we'll see that the net rooms gained was 1. And so we do 3 plus 1 will be 4. And then we'll see that next we have a net gain of negative 3. So we'll do 4 minus 3 equals 1. And then we'll go down. We'll see that there was a net gain of 0. So 1 plus 0 equals 1. And then at the end, we'll see that there was a net gain of negative 1. So we'll do 1 minus 1 equals 0. And so if we go back and we look, we'll see that the maximum number of rooms we needed, or the minimum number of rooms we needed throughout the entire day, was 4. And that's our answer. And that's essentially what we're doing. We are keeping track of the net gains, and we're adding them up as we go along. And whichever number is the highest in this column, or whatever the highest net rooms needed value was, is the one we're going to return, is the one we're going to store in the variable called rooms needed. So welcome back to IntelliJ. It's time for the fun part. We are now going to write the code that gives us our value. So we're going to start out with a for loop, and we're going to say for every set of times in our time array, the array that was passed at the beginning of the method, min numRooms. Oh, I put this in the wrong spot. For every set of times in time array, we are going to say time counter times 0 plus equal 1, and then we're going to copy that. We're going to change this to a 1. We're going to change this to a 0. Nope, we're going to change this to a minus equals 1. So what we're doing is we're adding up every single time a class ends, and we're adding up every single time a class starts, just like we did in the example before that I showed you. So essentially, every time a class ends, add minus 1. Every time a class starts, plus 1. And then it'll fluctuate as we go on, and then they'll get to their final values at the end of this for loop. And then the next thing we do is we do another for loop, and we say for int times time array for every, for every time, I was looking at the wrong bit. For every time in time counter, we want to say the net rooms needed plus equals times, and then time, and then if the net rooms needed is greater than the rooms needed, we say rooms needed is equal to net rooms needed. And so that way, as we're adding up all the times like we did in the example, once we get to a higher value like that 4, we would say, hey, this is the new minimum number of rooms I need for the scheduling. And so we would store that in rooms needed. And then at the very end, we will return rooms needed. And that's just about it. Now all we gotta do is write a couple tests for it. So we'll do a couple print lines. I'm gonna do a formatted print statement. And so we'll say the number of rooms needed for set 1 is, and then we'll do d, and then we'll pass in min num rooms, and then we'll pass in, times 1. And then I don't need this, I'll just copy this. Copy, paste. I'm gonna set in a new line there so it's not messy. Copy, this to 2, change this to 3, change this to 4. So also change this to 2, this to 3, this to 4, and we'll run it and cross our fingers. So the number of rooms needed for set 1 is 2, number of rooms needed for set 2 is 2, the number needed for set 3 is 1, and the number of rooms needed for set 4 is 3. And if we look up here, we'll see that the minimum number for 1 was 2, the minimum needed for 2 was 2, the minimum needed for 3 was 1, and the minimum needed for 4 was 3. So it works. And that's just about all that's to it. If you have any questions or if you have a better solution, leave a comment and link to your GitHub maybe. I'll leave the link to the GitHub solution in the comment section. Not the comment section, the description. So if you want to look at it yourself, you can. And have a great day. Goodbye.